Welcome to I Think number 10, Mr. John Everett Martin. It is a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for coming today. What made you want to come and talk on the podcast? You've been in the area, in the Boston area, as an artist. You're a singer primarily, but I know that you're involved in several other musical ventures. Talk to me about your current projects and what message you're trying to get out there right now.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, again, I start everything with I'm a man of great faith, and it is a partnership. I think we're all humans. Our gifts are what make us unique.
Of course.
And I think when you take enough time to sit like you guys, you've all figured out what your gifts are, what you're good at. I was watching you guys, I couldn't figure none of it out. But if you can figure that easily, then that's a gift that you've got. Follow these things, you'll follow. So with singing, I just knew that I could always sing. And how I got involved here was that you walked into Alibi and you listened to me singing.
Of course.
And that is the moment. So that's the moment in time that got together. I would say that the reason why I was here is your infectious enthusiasm.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that.
Yes. No, but it's true, though. I say I define myself all the time as a New Age Buddhist Christian Jew. And if that was a horse race, New Age is going to win the race because it's an energy. I didn't know you. I don't know you. But when you walked in, you could feel your excitement. You could feel your attention. And you could feel that it was nothing more than an appreciation for what I was doing. And so when you get a good feeling and you receive a good feeling, I don't need to figure you out. I've already got it. Like I've often said many times is that I don't need to know you to love you. Because when I'm near you, I only feel good things. But I also don't need to know you to dislike you. You know, when you bring an energy my way that I don't know you, I get it, but I don't want to be anywhere near you.
Of course.
As opposed to coming next to you, it's like, yeah, I'll spend all day with you because we're walking through the same thing. We're basically lights trying to light up a space.
I really appreciate that, John, and I think a lot of our viewers too will appreciate that sentiment because this community is all about just sort of being in touch with your energy, and we're energy people. I think everyone is an energy person in life. So you have to be constantly in touch with your energy, and you can really, like, you have energy sort of instincts in life that we get. We know when something feels right, when it feels wrong. We know when we're living our best life and when we're in tune with the universe. And you totally strike me as the kind of guy who's gotten to that point after years of meditation and just living life in the moment and everything and really appreciating life. You've arrived at this very wise point. What I immediately noticed about your music was this old school vibe that you're communicating. So I've always been a big Frank Sinatra fan, of course. I love Sinatra. I love Dean Martin. I love all of that stuff, old school vibe. And I'm from Jersey myself, so they're all from Jersey as well, and right in that area. So, I grew up walking down Sinatra Boulevard in Hoboken and all of that. I love that energy. I love that vibe. Talk to me about.
Well, clearly that's what I felt from you then.
Yeah.
So now as we get to know, like there's a line that I use all the time that says, I don't need to know you to love you. And I remember I was a 43-year-old man and I met a 19-year-old young man that I worked with. And it felt so awkward being in an environment where I was developing a very close friendship with a 19-year-old as a 43-year-old man. Now I'm 62, but this was all these years ago. And I remember I created a line that said, I don't know you well enough to love you as much as I do, but I'm sure time is going to tell me why.
100%. I think that's how things really work in life. It's just like the most random occurrences that seem so crazy to us. We then realize that life is just like, when you zoom out of life, John, and you realize that as humans, right, 8 billion humans on this planet, when you zoom out, we are a speck of dust floating in a universe which is unimaginably large. There's sort of like infinite possibilities out there, and also we know through science that the universe is constantly expanding, sort of infinitely. So it's like there's really nothing that should be holding us back or stopping us from achieving whatever goal it is we might imagine in life. And I'm really attached to that goal right now and that mindset where I'm constantly reminding my animal mind to forget your worries and problems and issues and all the things, the bullshit, that's going on in your life. It's really insignificant when you zoom out. So I've been saying.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
Wow. Good for you.
I appreciate that, John. I really do. But I've been.
Good for him. I'm telling you right now, 21 years old to be speaking like that from a point of view that you don't, like I've often said that, I really believe the Buddhist part of me.
Yeah.
One life is
that.
not long enough for us to learn everything we need to do to know to be enlightened.
Yeah.
The only thing that keeps us out of nirvana, heaven, whatever you want to call that, is ourselves.
Yes.
And so once you reach that level, so I feel like this might be my last journey here, only because I've lived enough lives to know what is my issue and what's not my issue. You know what I mean? And I don't worry about things that aren't mine. Like I've often said, the only reason why we're here is to cleanse our soul, our own soul, is to launder our own soul. I'm not going to worry about your soul because I don't even know the stain on your soul. The only thing I can do is wash my own. And then when you see the peace and the joy and the satisfaction and the closeness that you get with that energy, because I agree with you, when you look at us as humans, certainly we are a speck of dust. But when we shed this shell and that thing comes flying out, like when we drop that booster rocket and we get to where we're going, it's a light force.
Yes.
And it is a speck of dust in the big scheme of things, but it is a speck of dust that matters. And the reason why I say that it matters is because I have cried hard and I have laughed hard. And life has been really serious for me to be just a friggin' speck of dust.
Yes, of course.
And so what happens is I think a lot of times, I don't know if you call it apathy, I don't know what you call it. But the one thing that I would say that I admire in you guys that I don't see in a lot of younger people, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of every generation prior to you. But you need a youthful idealism.
Yes.
If you're not young and think that you can't change the world when you're young.
Yeah. How are you going to do it when you're old, guys? That's just it, How will you change the world at any point if you're not willing to do it now? And
you have to start believing that you can.
Yes, that's the first step. And
it's an awareness. Before anything happens, the awareness. Like I said, I wish that you were nice to me. But if you don't even know that you're not being nice to me, you're not even going to change. You don't even know that you haven't been nice to me.
Of course.
So once you find out that you haven't been, now we can evolve. But without an awareness.
Yeah, but you're not emotionally invested in those other people. You can admire, you can respect, you can disrespect, but at the end of the day, that's not affecting your aura.
Amen.
And that's a very important point. So tell me, you made a point there which I really like. You said that you believe this is your last trip around because you've already come to all of these emotional and very wise and philosophical understandings about how you live your life. You seem to have rejected negativity and negative emotion in your life as well.
Yes, sir.
So tell me, was it always like that? How about in your youth or back in the past, was it different? Was your mentality, were you still worrying about negativity? Or did you feel that way at a young age? What is it that makes you think this is really your last journey on this earth?
I certainly haven't always felt that way. But I will say this, is that I know that there's no warrior in me. Now, I understand that there's good and there's bad.
Yes.
And I know that lots of times bad wants to take over good. And if good is weak, you need a strength to defend good sometimes against bad.
You do.
But I'm not that guy. I don't think that killing is ever going to be right.
Yeah.
I don't think that slaughtering, I don't think that hatred will ever be the same. So that's not me. I don't have to fight that battle within me where I think it's right and it's wrong and there's good or bad. Like lately, my thought is just, so just getting back to what your question is, which I say is when I was a young age, it was not easy for me. Lots of things. But I would tell you that I did not have my first friend probably until I was in 11th grade. I had some playmates, in the neighborhood that I played with. But the very first person to ever show me kindness was the person to change my world. And that was in 11th grade.
Tell me about that.
That was, when you are, like I've said, like lots of times when you're beat up, when you're bullied, when you're abused, you come to not understand why it's happening. So you know that just by being yourself, you're kind of getting abused. So you try to be something so you just don't get hurt any longer. So then you don't have a clue as to what to be because you don't even know what you know what I mean? So then when I auditioned, there was not enough, it ties in well. In 11th grade, there was not enough men auditioning for the musical.
The musical.
So they asked me if I would do it. And I will tell you that when I auditioned for that musical, I can still see it in my eyes, I started to sing, and I can see their faces because the people who were auditioning for the play, they all started to go like this. It was like, who is this kid? And where did he come from? And then somebody saw me, kindness came my way. And because I didn't have any self-esteem, I would say that I went with kindness.
Kindness.
I chose kindness. And I figured that kindness will be my self-esteem.
Okay.
I'm not going to find it in being strong or good looking or smart. I'm going to find all my self-esteem in being kind. Because that was the one out that I had, that if you don't like me, it's not because of that, or it's not because of that, or not because of that, because I've been kind. If you don't like someone, and
that message.
And my friend Nancy, Laura, John, they showed me, like I said, I've been married for a long time now, I'm divorced, and I say, as I pursue a new relationship, I say this, I'm no longer pursuing love in my life, because love has not served me well.
I get that. I
am pursuing kindness in my life, because not all love is kind, but most kindness is loving. So if I find a kindness, I'm going to pursue that towards love, but I'm not going to find a love that's not kind.
That's very interesting. So a lot of people, including myself, who preach this sort of spiritual, these ideas and everything, I'm a big proponent and believer in psychedelic therapy. And just for me personally, it helped me come to a lot of conclusions at a young age, which I would say otherwise I never would have realized. Talk to me about psychedelics. Have they been involved in your life? Have you come to any understandings or realizations through a trip when you were younger, potentially?
Well, I will tell you this, honestly. I did many different types of drugs prior to getting married and having children.
Okay.
I really do believe that my parents, my father in particular, had a couple of lines that I would translate. One is booze you lose, dope there's hope.
Okay.
The other one is man-made booze, God-made grass. Nice. Who do you trust?
God, yeah.
And the one I trust my father. And then the other line that I created, which is more, when Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, they found out they were going to die. And when they found that out, the good Lord sprinkled marijuana seeds all over the garden and saying that, I swear here, but I said, these fuckers are going to need this shit because life just got serious. And so what I would tell you is, I remember it didn't happen until I was probably 23 or whatever. I got high for the very first time. And I would say that was transformative to me. And there's two reasons why. And I've said it, I've been getting high now for 40 years.
Nice.
But when I had children, it was very important for me to not go to a place that I could not get back quickly.
Of course.
If my children needed me.
Of course.
So I didn't want to take a trip. I didn't want to go on a trip. I didn't want to do anything that if I got a phone call that my children needed me, that I was off in a place I couldn't get back to.
Yeah.
So I limited it only to weed.
Only weed.
When I turned 55, my kids were now older.
Yeah.
So for me, how I live my life is, my birthday is on November 8th.
Nice.
But I celebrate it always on November 7th.
Okay.
So I am 62 right now.
Yeah.
My birthday's on November 8th. But this November 7th, I will celebrate my last day of being 62.
Okay.
I typically take it out to dinner. I typically reminisce with my year, just the two of us,
right.
Our joys, our laughters, our sorrows, our successes. And then I kiss it one more time, goodbye, and I wake up with 63 in my bed. And I say, good morning, 63. We're going to be together for the next year, so I hope you like to dance, but why don't we go out to breakfast and plan what we're going to do for the next year.
Nice. Wow.
Because I will have all year to be
beautiful.
63, but I will never be able to be 62 again. And I'll tell you, when I did my 59th birthday, fortunately, I had a wonderful event that occurred, but I celebrated it as the last day of being 59. And when people came in and said, happy 60th birthday, and I'd let it go, but I said, it's not my 60th birthday yet. I said, it's my last day. And when it was all done, and it was so joyous, I said, I'm so glad I gave 59 that party, because 60 might give me herpes. And I wouldn't want to give it the party if that's the year that gave me herpes. 59 treated me beautifully. Nice. It deserved the party. Nice. So going back to earlier, when you talked about finding it earlier, is because love was not always kind. It was, okay. I love you, but.
I love you, but.
I love you, but. I love you, but. And so when you get to that point, I was raised in faith, and I knew that Jesus and God loved me supposedly. And so I think it was because it was inanimate. I could create a love that was mine, that I heard about, that I knew was big because it was about the whole world. Nice. And so I just tuned into that. So then at age 15, my mother told me that we were going to go face-to-face confessions. And I said, Mom, there's no way I'm going to go talk face-to-face with a priest here. There's just no way it's going to happen. Well, that's what they're doing. I said, it ain't going to happen. I said, Mom, I'm telling you right now, if there's anybody up there that cares for me, my eyes, my ears, my heart, and my soul are wide open. So if it's got something to say, it'll say it. So then at age 23 years old, I was in Middletown, Connecticut, on a very, very cold February evening. I had visited with a friend. No drugs, no alcohol. I'm still not a drinker.
Nice.
I got into my car, and all I remember was saying, bleep, 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 bleep. I am so cold.
You can curse on this.
Okay, all right, good. Yeah. So I was in my car in Middletown, Connecticut, February cold. I'm going, fuck. It is so fucking cold. It is so fucking. And then this warmth just kind of opened me up all of a sudden. And then I was overcome with a sense of peace.
Nice.
Just washed over. And then I will tell you, there has been a higher power that has spoken to me now for 40 years. And on the very first time it spoke to me, at this moment, it said this, just like this. It's all going to be okay. So in that moment, feeling the peace and having a whisper in my ear that told me that everything was going to be okay, that's what changed my life. So it's not faith, it's not religion, but it is a voice that has spoken to my head. And it's a voice that's never stopped talking to me. It's a voice that has never beat me up once.
Like that.
Never once has that voice beat me up. Everyone else, including me, not you guys, you haven't beat me up yet.
We're planning on it.
Right
after.
I'm sure I'll say something to deserve it.
Okay.
Or, but that's what changed my life. When I was young, I was 15, I knew that I was always going to be a Grammy Award-winning singer. How I know that, why I believe that, why I think I'm special enough, I don't know really why that is, but I will tell you, even though I have been beaten up and whatever, and that's all part of my past, my blues, I'm a blues singer, but my blues are in my past. I knew that I was at least special enough to have a good life. You know what I mean? I didn't need to be better than anyone, but I knew that I was something. So at age 15, I said my prayers, and I said, Dear Lord, I know that I'm going to be a Grammy award-winning singer, but I also want to get married, I want to have kids.
Nice.
But I was raised by parents that said, you don't have dreams when you're a parent. You teach your children to dream.
Interesting.
Once you get that done, you can get back to your own dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, John, I really love that point, and I think it's really important for a lot of people to hear, because especially in my audience, a lot of the time I'll talk about things in a way that they don't understand. Maybe they'll see one little clip, but they don't see the full context. So I have a lot of people hating on me and saying things along the lines of that when I make a point like, I think everything in life is meaningless, they take that at surface level.
Right.
And they think I'm being negative in some way. Really, what I'm saying is that when we zoom out and we look at our lives in a cosmic sense, all of our issues and negativity and problems, they're very meaningless. So why are we attaching so much of our emotional energy and everything to worrying about this stuff, fighting about this stuff? It's all bullshit, to be honest, guys. And if we just reject that tribalistic mentality and that animal instinct, humanity will be in a much, much better place in the long term. That's what I've been preaching, and hate on that if you will, but really, you guys are grown adults hating on me. I'm chasing my dreams. You're sitting at home commenting on my content, watching my content. So it's like, I really thought I had to get that point out there first and foremost.
Amen. Amen.
All right, John, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah, right on.
So you started your music career journey at 50, is that correct?
That is correct.
And that's not something you hear every day. And so what made you take that leap, and what was going through your mind that morning that you decided to take that decision?
Well, what's interesting about it was that morning, and I just started to have this conversation where I was on my knees when I was 15 years old, literally having a conversation with my higher power. And I said, all right, dear Lord, I said, I know I'm going to be a Grammy Award-winning singer, but I want to have a wife, I want to have kids, I want to do all that. So just watching my parents be so selfless, I knew that they weren't following any of their dreams because they were just working like dogs. So I saw that. So I did the math and I said, so if I'm married by 25 and I've got kids, when are they going to be out of college? So at 15, I went, John, you can't even start singing until you're 50.
Yeah.
So I knew it at that point. So I got married, I had kids, I got divorced, I got all those things that all those things. But then I was 49. So my mantra at 49 was prepare to fly by 50. I mean, I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. This is when it's going to start. So I went and got a physical to make sure that I would be physically capable to achieve all the goals that I would set for the next 10 years. And I did. And then when I found out that I was healthy, I said, all right, I know that I won't die in the next 10 years unless, I get hit by a bus or something. But I know that that's not going to happen either. And I only...
No, it won't.
I'll tell you, this is why I think this. There's a great line that I like, which says, your spirit will stay with you as long as it can utilize your body and your mind to achieve its goals.
Yes.
So I'm not so angry at something that my spirit's saying, if you could give me 1 square inch of real estate in your brain, I could change your life.
Of course.
So we can do it. And I saw that fact when I was on a bus and I saw a woman, she was so... It took her every energy she had to get to the bus, to drop off her bags, and then to go back to deposit her fare, and then go back. She was exhausted. And I said, her soul is really having a tough time today.
Yeah.
So it can't. So for me, it's important to try and stay healthy and to keep an open mind.
Of course. And I really like that point too. It's the subject you're approaching is immortality. And it's something that I have a deep feeling in my bones that at the end of the day, I am immortal. And a lot of people, when I give them that point, they call me crazy or like some kind of a lunatic or something, but
Right.
or an egocentric sort of person. The reason I have this point is because I know that whatever being has infested my body or manifested itself through my spirit, that being is very much not interested in dying. So there's absolutely nothing that could happen in life which could change that. Also, I'm a big proponent and believer in AI and the potentials of the quantum renaissance. So through this, I see a real way where I could live forever. It's something, obviously it's a controversial opinion, but I think that with AI and everything, as we get older, we'll be able to just replace the organs that stop functioning in the way we want them to function. And it's something we'll do with every aspect of life. You're already seeing various forms of cancer being cured by these big AI machines. So just naturally and logically speaking, eventually our medical technology will progress to the point where we will be able to live forever. Mortality will be a choice eventually, and that is something we will all have to cope with. So I tell this idea to a lot of people in life. I tell this idea to a lot of people where I say, I will choose to be immortal. I will choose to live forever. And they ask me why, and I say, because I love my life so much. I love life so much that why would I choose to die if I have that option? So a lot of people would tell me, no, I would never do that. I want to be a natural human and live a natural lifespan. That leads us to the question, what is natural in the first place? Why are these people able to make certain judgments on how we live our lives, how we do things, how we utilize new technology to our benefit? Obviously, it's scary to a lot of people because they're afraid of these machines and this technology, but I embrace that, and I encourage everyone listening to embrace new technology. Without new technology, where would we be? You know,
Well,
and everyone can utilize that.
I'd say I agree, and I think that, again, as a conversationalist, again, whoever's watching this, you got a good host here. You're a bright, intelligent, thoughtful, eloquent young man.
Thank you, John.
And I'll tell you, my biggest issue with a lot of people, most of the people, I'm going to tell you, 85% of the people that I think I know in my life have not taken 2 hours to actually be introspective enough to figure out what their gifts are.
Yes.
How can I contribute? They don't give any value.
Well, they don't even try to contribute in the first
I
place.
do think in many ways AI is going to be much more important to survivors than
Yes.
it's going to be staying alive. So again, I think AI is the ability to keep my form alive with a memory of my past that you can recall with, but to get new wisdom from an AI version of me, I don't know if that will be there if
I
I'm
strongly
wrong.
believe that it will.
You know, but I will tell you this, and I mean this as a phase, and believe me, I embrace the future. I embrace AI. I embrace it all.
Yeah.
Because no matter what we do, as long as our universe exists, AI doesn't matter nearly as much as right and wrong matters. Those are the things that matter. So the internet, it's a wonderful thing, or it is a horrible thing. It's what is being put into it, and like they say, the only
It's like
thing,
a hammer, right?
the only thing
Cool.
that the internet can't do is tell the difference between truth and fake.
Yes, you're right about that, and I want to talk about this a lot because this is a very important debate almost that's going on right now throughout our society. This thing about AI in general. I'm hearing so many people not afraid of AI, but just not, so this is how I used to be. I used to live my life completely afraid of AI, and whenever anyone brought it up, I would just immediately go into my shell and I would be like, oh, big new scary thing. I'm not going
Right.
to focus on that. I'm going to live in my small world over here.
Right.
Then one day I realized I can start using AI to accomplish new things in my life which have never been accomplished by any human who has ever existed, such as I broke the world record for the fastest 5x5 nonogram ever solved by a computer algorithm. On top of that, I have a lot of different business ventures in the works through AI. And what I talk about with AI is, I really strongly believe that what you said before, you said that you think maybe your memories and et cetera could be preserved. What I'm saying is that I think all of you, John, can be preserved forever with AI, your spirit as well.
Right.
I think mortality will be a choice for you too eventually. It will be whether you want to live forever or not. And the way I see that happening is, imagine that you get cancer and then your liver goes out, or like your lungs, or whatever part of you has cancer, your brain, whatever. We will develop with AI new algorithms to completely erase that.
Absolutely.
So it's like, it will be a question for you too one day. Do I want to live forever or do I want to be mortal? And what will you answer on that?
I'll tell you, I've dreamt of people asking me questions like this because most people can't think big enough to think that question, in my opinion. So what I would say is, I want to live to be 150. To be completely honest with you. Do I want to live forever? I really believe that if we all knew what was on the other side, we'd be killing ourselves tomorrow.
Yes, but we don't, so we can't take for granted
But
what
we
have.
do on some level when you just look within. Because what AI matters and what this world matters doesn't matter nearly as much as what your heart's relationship is,
I suppose,
to the universe.
Yes. I think really though, I think AI is super important because my goal, this is my goal behind every project, everything I do. I'm trying to figure out why we exist in the first place as humans. Because everyone in society is just assuming we know in some form or another, and we move past that initial question, and we're all just going along with this big bluff, right?
I don't think anybody knows for sure.
No
And
one
that's why
knows.
there's so many different points of
But
view.
no one cares enough to devote all of our time and energy to answering that question. And I think there's a real viable pathway through AI and quantum physics. Like right now, if we all team up as humans and we all promote this question, where do we come from? Why do we exist in the first place? Like, why? Think about that. Think about that. You're sitting at home right now. Where did life emerge? Where is your life from? Why is there something and not nothing? You can't offer me a logical explanation.
Well, let me ask you this question, though. So when you are spending the time trying to figure that out, are you spending any time just being?
Yes.
Right.
This is where I get all of my dopamine from. This
Right.
chasing this mystery. Because
Right.
I'm a detective at the end of the
Right.
day. Everything I do is living in the moment.
Let me offer you this perspective here for a second, because this is sometimes what I preach here. I say that if there say was a great creator, Big Bang, and the light is love, and the darkness is whatever you want to look at that. I say that when say this beautiful positive being says, I want to create a universe based on love and that type of a thing. Some meek little person in the back of the group that was putting this idea together said, well, if you're going to create a world full of love, but people are going to die, I mean, there's going to be a lot of pain in the world because people are going to fall in love and people are going to die. So what are you going to do about that, right? So then this person calls back from the crowd and says, can I tell you about, I've heard about this thing called joy.
Joy.
And if you look at joy, it's one of the 4 candles of Advent. So this is what I talk about joy. You can ask my brother, are you happy? I'm happy. I'm not happy. Happiness is a state of being in your moment. I'm not happy today because the subway was late, or I'm happy today because it was on time. But I will tell you, joy is love that is given to you that they do not take when they leave.
Who is they?
They is, for example, God gave me a love, or if there's a loving force,
Very interesting.
it gave me a love
You're right.
that lived within me.
And
So even though I don't see it, I know that it's there. So when I use it as an example is this, both my parents are no longer here on earth. Both my parents, I never say died. They never died. They moved north. That's basically what I say. And when I say that, I will tell you that my parents did not take 1% of anything they gave me. I still have all of their love. I still have all of their wisdom. I still have all of their, everything about them lives within me.
yes. And I think that's definitely accurate in a lot of ways. What I'm also suggesting
So
is
that's immortal. That's my own thing, is that the joy is immortal.
your joy, that's a given. That will always be with
Right.
you no matter what happens in
Right.
the universe. But here's my opinion. I think that what you just said about your parents, I really believe there's a way you can actually, with science, as far as we know, you can see them again. And if you want me to get into how that would work scientifically, so when we look at the sun, guys, when you look at the sun up in the sky, you're not looking at the sun where it is right now. You're looking at the sun where it was 8 minutes ago.
Right.
Because it's 8 light minutes away.
Right.
What that means is that you're looking at the past. So imagine if we went more than 8 light minutes out. Imagine if we went 1,000 light years out, potentially, right? Like if we immediately appeared 1,000 light years away and we trained a high-powered telescope on the Earth, we can zoom in with that telescope and get almost a live feed of what was happening on Earth 1,000 years ago. The only big issue that you guys are potentially seeing with this, how could we ever get 1,000 light years away instantly? Because we can never travel faster than the speed of light. So that's what Einstein put forth with his theory of general relativity, that as we approach the speed of light, if we have mass, it will become infinitely expensive in terms of the energy requirements to do so. What we're seeing now with quantum entanglement in quantum physics is that Einstein's relativity theory is now redundant. When you have two particles which can be influenced by one another hundreds of millions of light years away instantaneously, that means that we can actually break the speed of light, the light speed barrier. So we can now look into the past, we can even interact with the past, bend space and time. We're realizing that life is all a code in the universe. It's bigger than what we just see. Obviously, everyone can feel that from within, that there's something else going on out there. I'm not saying it's a a simulation. I'm not saying that this life is a simulation. I'm saying that it operates the way a code base this life operates the way that a code base operates. And I can say that because I'm a programmer first and foremost. There are too many similarities and coincidences.
I will tell you honestly, number one, I'm absolutely impressed that I can actually follow what you're saying because I'm surprised by that. But secondly, I don't disagree with really anything you're saying. Do I know what we're learning? But I do know that all the power is not, it's around us.
Yes.
But we're part of it.
Okay, so I want to ask you right now, what is your theory about how we emerge and what we are and what the universe is and what came before the Big Bang?
Well, you know what fascinates me about the whole thing is that, again, I don't really spend a lot of time trying to figure out where or how, because I'm not really equipped to get those answers.
Why do you think you're not?
Just because, I would put it this way, what I'm more fascinated is this. Where, like my family tree, where did it begin?
Yes.
I'd like to know the first Martin. You know what I mean? On some level, because they can say that. Like I don't understand. Like I found out with my genealogy or my DNA that I'm Scottish more than I am Irish, but I'm half French. So what does that mean? Like French is a gene, French is a DNA. I don't know. Because if the world started out of Africa, why isn't it somewhere? So my point being is this: wherever it began, what absolutely blows my mind is that my two parents taught their 5 children how to unconditionally love people.
I like that.
And the fact that unconditional love has lasted through every generation prior to me. Because I'll tell you something, if I was a caveman and I had to repopulate, what's the word, procreate with my caveman wife who doesn't shave, and she got a hairy body and she looks exactly like me, I probably would have given up on the generation at that point.
I don't think you would have.
I think so, because I'm just not into a woman that's hairier than me.
Why?
Because I don't know. I think the reason why my father had 5 kids was because my mother was beautiful. I think if she looked like a cave woman, maybe they would have had 1. Just to find out that kid is so, I don't know. I just think that.
I think if you have been living in those prehistoric times.
I get it. I get that. But I just think that really it's the love. So even in those days, that caveman was really loving that cave woman.
Of course.
You know, it's a remarkable story that I love to celebrate. Like, I like to live my life like a movie's going to be made of it 25 years after I'm dead. So I'm always looking for good scenes. I don't want it to be boring. Exactly. So my parents, my father always used to say to my mother, do you think, Kay, that when we're dead, that we could get the people to put holes in our caskets so we could actually hold hands while we're underneath, right? So my father died in December of a few years ago. And because he was getting buried in Maine, they had to wait till June to bury his body because the ground is frozen.
Yeah.
So just days before we're going to bury my father, my mother dies.
Wow.
And so they end up going down at exactly the same time. And it was like just miraculous to think that in my lifetime, because my mother and father were together for 64 years, every day that my mother was not away with my father, I didn't like it. I wanted her to get to my father as quickly as possible because she had dementia. And every day she'd say, "Where's my husband?"
Yeah.
That type of thing. And so I just think that the AI thing, I think, is a very earthly, tactile, visual stimulation for the people who need that.
Okay, what I would say, I love that point, of course. What I would say is that AI, the way I see it, sure, it will accomplish all of our needs materialistically on Earth.
Right.
And no one will, it will be wild. We'll send droids to asteroids hundreds of millions of light years away to mine whatever resource it is that we might require.
Right.
What I'm saying with AI, when you say it's just a material thing or an earthly thing, my response is, I think this is the answer. This is how we figure out why we exist.
And I don't disagree with you.
Why would whatever God is, right? Why would He give us the tools and expect us not to use them?
I'll tell you what I think might be possible is that I remember hearing a line that said, scientists are going to prove the existence of God long before theologians will.
Yes.
So I believe that. but it's going to be the energy. So for me, when I'm going through, like the reason why I say, like, if you want to know about World War II, you wouldn't read one book about World War II. You'd have to read 5 books about it. Because there's a soldier story, a wife's story. Exactly. So it's the same thing with beliefs. So what I would say that whether you're at a tribe in New Guinea or here in New York City, everyone's looking or worshiping something, which makes them feel that they're away from something.
Yeah.
So I believe that. Now I look to all the people who have dedicated their lives to understanding it, and I take all of that. So I leave it to this, and this is what I might leave here or whatever as we go. But I'd say this: whenever I am underneath a blanket of stars, I feel comforted.
Nice.
I can be alone in the woods, not knowing where I'm at. But if the sky was clear and I was under a blanket of stars, so this is what I'd say. When I go theologically, what is the one thing that can conquer darkness?
Light.
A star.
A star.
So even though the night comes, so when they sent all those women up in the rocket for a little while, they said, William Shatner, I think, also said it, which was, when you go up that far, you don't just see the earth, you see the vastness of the darkness. And so even though AI could be going great in this world Earth, and it's going to get us to flying all over, we're still going to be flying in the darkness until we find the light that is ourselves.
Yes, that's a big one.
Forgive me, I'm sorry about that, guys. I thought that was off.
Yeah, no worries. That's a really big point you just made, and I 100% agree with everything you're saying. So I think it's like, the thing is, if I were chasing AI the way I'm chasing it before, when I was just focused on chasing money and just earthly convenience, it would be obviously flawed. And I think a lot of people are chasing AI in that way. And Brahim seems to want to say something.
All right, so just quickly jump in.
Yeah.
So speaking of AI, John,
Yeah.
what do you think about AI in terms of taking over natural talents, especially to someone who is passionate about music? What do you think that the effect on that is going to have?
Well, again, for me, I think there's a truth and a lie, and I think there's right and there's wrong. So I think, number one, if you're calling it artificial, we'd have to start with that word and try and identify that. Because is it artificial? We're putting energy into it. We're putting what we think is into it. And I don't think of it as an artificial thing. But I would tell you this. When people start to tell me to put an idea for a song to chat GPT, is that what it is? I kind of throw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah, don't use it to create things like artists.
I want to be assisted. Like, again, like what I say is, like, if you're not taught penmanship, how are you going to read the Declaration of Independence? You know what I mean? You have to learn how to read, so you have to learn how to do math, even though something is going to do it. I just saw it on a show, the youngest graduate of college, kid, right? So he's like 12 or something, and he just graduated college and he's moving on.
Crazy.
And they say to him, what would you say to your kid, your cohorts? He said, all that time you're playing your games, what aren't you doing?
Exactly.
What aren't you learning?
Key information right
So
there.
you just need to learn. So, like, again, I believe that with kids and everything, just expose everybody to everything. But I'll tell you one thing, because I know that we're going way past time, I'm sure, but
I don't think so.
No.
What time is it?
yeah.
Yeah,
Good for now.
I think we can
Okay.
keep going until they kick us
Yeah,
out.
well, that's what I was thinking. But I say that ultimately, I do think that whatever you believe, it doesn't matter. But what you do need to believe or work towards believing is something that will bring you peace within.
Yes, this is the only way.
Because no matter with AI, no matter where we go. Now, when you're talking about AI and where's it going to go in the future, for me, it's you're not going to stop anything. Yeah, we're going to lose jobs. But like there's a kid out there and I was saying, we need to teach kids how to do jobs with AI. You know what I mean? If that's the thing. When they brought in the industrial age, well, it put the Stone Age away, but you didn't hear Stone Age people saying, hey, we still want to use our tools.
Well, you did, even back then. So even back then in history, constantly throughout history, again, cyclicality, it's something I talk to my audience a lot about. We've been going through the same patterns and cycles, repeating the same mistakes. A prime example is back in the 1600s, who knows, even maybe before that, there was some time, I think it was in Europe, when they had these windmills to churn the grain. They just came out with this new invention. Instead of having the big rotational wheel that they require 6 men to push at all times, now we get this energy from the wind turbine.
Right on.
What happened is that the peasant class at the time, in this whatever feudalistic medieval European society this was in, they revolted and they actually started teaming up and tearing down the windmills. Right. So it's the same thing. Imagine, guys, if you had a podcast back then, or like if you were just talking to people in society back then, they would have been always preaching the same things, like again and again. The new machines will replace us. The new this will change us. The printing press didn't. A lot of people,
when I was in 9th grade in high school,
yeah,
I had to take typing class.
Tell me about that.
And the one thing that I remembered all the time was, I don't know why I have to take typing. I'm never going to be a secretary. And now I type all the time.
Yeah.
But the absence of knowledge as to what the future was going to actually hold, it was limited to my belief that, well, only secretaries type, so I don't have to worry about doing that because I'll never be a secretary. Lo and behold. But I will say, to quote Vince Gill, there ain't no future in the past. So you have to just move on.
Move on.
It will always, though, come down to right and wrong isn't going to change. No matter where we go, you were wrong. I'm sorry. But I'll tell you, on the day like I say, in America today, we've got 300 million truths. I can't tell you your truth is wrong today. Because I don't know.
There is no objective, though, because no one's truth can be. What is the objective?
But your truth is important to you.
It's important to me, exactly.
And I'm sure that you run into people whose truth is very, very important to
everyone.
Right.
You're totally right about that. And right and wrong, you're getting at the moral heart of this topic, like what is right and what is wrong. I think it's a feeling that we get in our bones. So it's like we know,
or your soul,
or your whatever it is, that internal.
My bones don't tell me whether I'm right or wrong, but there's something inside me that does.
100%. That I agree 100%. So whatever this little thing in us, we know when we watch someone getting hurt, like some stronger person hurting a weak person, we know it's wrong when they're being beat up, or we can tell when
the bad person doesn't think that.
Yes, exactly. The bad person doesn't, but the majority of objective observers would think that
the bad person's truth is they deserve it.
Obviously, it's a conflicting truth there.
So that's it.
But I think for everything in life, we have to have some base level of, like, morally, we can't have murder in our society because that's making it worse off for most people. So we have to have like some base level thing. But when you get into the nitty gritty, so a lot of the times we're obsessing over these little details, like what we have to do. Even like when I posted that interview I did, and everyone's so upset about me saying that the world is meaningless or everything is meaningless. Again, they just completely missed the context of that clip for whatever reason. And
or didn't even have a good enough follow-up question to ask you why you think that. They just dismiss what you think.
Yes, 100%. So it's like, back to my original point, it's sort of like these entities which exist in our society, we don't know exactly what is what's going on. No one out there knows. Like, people will always justify it to themselves and tell themselves an explanation, because that foundation of having an explanation for your existence, that makes everything in your life easier to manage emotionally and mentally, because most people are still living in their egos. When we take a step out of the ego, we can operate in the sense that we don't know if this little thing is important or not, but we can still like not be emotionally affected by it. So any negative emotion, negativity, anger, resentment, bitterness, betrayal, whatever it is, any of these feelings of pain, they're a result of the ego, right?
That's
because if the ego wasn't present, the ego is telling us, hey, I matter so much that this one little negative thing someone said to me is going to give to me emotionally. That's an ego thing, just like pride, whatever positive ego things. So when we remove,
which goes back to that thing that you're saying, which is there's something inside you thinking that pride is wrong or good or bad, or that ego is good or bad or whatever. And it's all the thoughts of what.
So I don't place any judgment on ego. A lot of the thing too, a lot of people will be preaching like, oh, get rid of your ego, do nothing, blah blah blah. I don't put judgment on it. I love my ego, because without my ego I would be dead.
Right. Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
We would all be dead if we
Right.
weren't.
I think ego sets a standard
Amen.
for each individual.
Amen.
And when we speak about ego, it's not just because you just don't want to listen to anyone, or you think that even the world revolves around you. But in reality, it's just you making sure that, hey, what happened to me before, past life experiences, I just don't want them to kind of repeat themselves. And so that ego kind of sets these standards. It's like a filtering process. You filter through all these individuals. But beside that,
Right, I'll tell you, because you're right on that, where it goes back to the individual themselves, that if that is what you are, then spend a lot less time telling other people about what that philosophy is, because that philosophy may not be their philosophy. It may not be their reality. It may not be their truth.
You're right about that.
You know what I mean? So what it is like, I'll tell you, I don't really preach the Bible. I don't preach religion. But lots of people come and ask me,
Yes.
why are you so easygoing? I mean, why does nothing bother you, John? You know what I mean? It's not because I am sad that people don't pursue knowledge in their life, or they don't pursue a value to their life.
Yes.
I don't understand that. But if I tried to preach to the world to do that, I would spend all my time, I'm really going to believe that the day I want to die is the day I'm done with stupidity in this world. I'm just done. I've lived 150 years, and the people that are getting born remain stupid.
But what about all the positivity?
It's all there, but I can live with that. You know what I mean? But the negative, because this, I brought this question up the other day, and this is what I find fascinating, because I think I could ask you this, I think I could ask them this. But I say, in this world, what kind of sucks is this. Bad people, and I use that term generically, bad choice makers, whatever, they don't see a problem being bad or
They need
hurting.
to take a trip.
But when you hurt me, it's not within my psyche or within my soul to hurt you back. That doesn't make me happy. So as no matter in this world, as long as there's people that want to do bad with no effect at all to them, then we're going to just keep getting hurt because we don't retaliate against the bad people that hurt us many times. But we're not supposed to retaliate. We are supposed to forgive. I'll tell you, Jennifer Hudson said the other day, I get criticized a lot because I text and I like to text. But if you lived like me and they always said, I didn't say that, you said that. No, that's not what I said. You said this. And I go, no, I didn't say that. There are receipts now. And I go, see?
Yes.
So now let's look at what I wrote. I wrote, you just said that I was one of the most disappointing friends you've ever had and that I've done nothing but disappoint everyone around me. I just put okay.
Yeah.
I don't need to keep that conversation going because his mindset will never, he never once asked, or that person never asked me, how are you?
Yeah.
Just came out with what he thought. So I can't let up. It's like I quote, I was in the musical Jesus Christ Superstar. And there's a great line.
Superstar?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical.
Okay.
And there's a line when they bring Jesus Christ to Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate goes, so I hear they call you King of the Jews. And Jesus says, I am what you say I am. And that's pretty much how I live my life. I am what you say I am. If I had to worry about what you think I am, because people want to call me gay, people want to call me straight, they want to make a choice. I go, when I figure out what I'm doing, I'll let you know. Why you even give a fuck, I don't understand.
100%.
But I will tell you something, that I say this, I don't have a type. I don't care if you are fat, thin, black, white, male, female, I don't care. The only thing that really turns me on is a smile that's intended for me.
Yeah.
So I'll go, me? And then if you've got an open mind, let's talk and see where it goes from there. Because if you think that just because you're a blonde and you're a whatever, it's like, I'm devoted to you, fuck you.
Honestly, John, I definitely agree with you. I think, when you bring in the fact of not worrying about anybody, what everybody says, I think there's always people who are going to either contemplate or kind of disagree with you. There's always going to be that one person who doesn't want to be on your side or just pick those sides.
Right.
And personally, I see it that most people say that they don't care about others, yet they actually do care, and I don't know where that's coming from. Maybe it's some ancestor, something from the past, or just
epigenetic.
Right, because when you're walking around, right, and you're like, oh, I don't care about this guy, I don't care about this girl, whatever it is, but yet you still think about it, and this is the fact that you thought about it
Yeah.
shows that you cared about it.
Right.
You know, it's like you're walking past, someone
Yeah.
walks by, does something, oh, I don't care about that guy.
Right.
But you sitting right there, you thought about him, you said that you don't care about him.
You witnessed his existence.
Right, exactly. So you've
100%.
already said something in relation to him or her, and you also thought about it. So you spent time thinking about it,
Right.
and you cared at the end of the day, even though it wasn't that much of a care.
Where's the thing that was there earlier?
Yeah, you know, I tell you, it's
There was a plug earlier.
I don't play.
Yeah, I have that.
My
so,
left hand.
So I'm
It
gonna
doesn't do
stop
anything.
the
You know what I
recording
mean?
for
I say
now.
I don't even change chords on my air guitar.
And also, well, I'll
It's
just keep that running
inept.
to get all the
But I
footage.
can sing the song and
But
write the
like,
song. And
I'm
so like
switching this cable
you know, I say the day she
to
threw me
be a
out.
charger,
couldn't
and I'll
believe
get the
my
black,
wife.
and I'm gonna
Little
connect
did I
this
know
one
it'd
here
be
to
the
the
best day
plug,
of my life.
and
You don't
hopefully
know.
it can reach.
What you don't know? Yeah, well, I don't need the instrument to get.
I was wondering to ask
But-
John about the event. So looking forward to that event. Like, there is an event coming up,
Yes,
right?
there is. Yes,
And
there
it's in
is.
Provincetown, right?
Yeah. Raheem, telling
I
you.
think it's June 8th.
It is, well, in June, well, it's been, June 8th, I'll be in actually my hometown of Ludlow, Massachusetts. Believe it or not, I'm going to go there and perform in front of my family and friends there on June 8th. June 4th is a thing called Cabaret Fest. And that's
Cabaret
in
Fest?
Provincetown.
Okay.
And again, it all ties into the conversations that we're having on the levels of, I knew about Cabaret Fest 8 years ago, but I wasn't going to insinuate myself into it until I knew the time was right. And it took 8 years, but the producer of the event reached out to me and asked if I would participate. So then I knew that the moment in time had come. Took a while to do it, but I'm willing to wait for them.
All right, 100%. And yeah, guys, feel free to just jump in and also you could, if you want as well, sit on camera. But I know you don't want to do it too.
Well, you know
But
what's
also,
fun
you're
about it
doing
is
a
when you
really
get
good
that
job,
voice
like,
and everyone's going to
narrating.
wonder, where did that voice come from? What's he look like? Where are they coming from?
Yeah,
You know, you
some
always-
pods do that where they have the editor like talking
Yeah.
on the thing.
Well, you know, whenever I think about all these things, I think the original master of it all is is Howard Stern. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%.
When you're just talking and anyone could talk, anyone could bring something out, do a shout
You know
out.
what?
All right,
Time
so
it
ready to
is?
start?
Let me check the time. 14. I'm gonna quickly see if I can get water before we jump in. But you
Alright.
could start recording and just talk directly with him, so we have the footage and we can make clips.
Absolutely. But no, talking about your voiceover, Haim, you know, again, I've thought about podcasts and different things, and what is interesting is, you know, when I think about guests, you almost have to take their voice into consideration, because if it's monotone, if it's boring, even though they may be interesting people, you kind of go, yeah, you're interesting, but your tone of your voice and your delivery is so monotone that you're not even interesting.
Yeah, I mean, John, I mean, like, this is really like, it's an achievement. I think someone at your age still pursuing something as passionate as music. I think the music industry nowadays, it's such a, I would say, saturated field. I think there's so many artists and so many, musicians. And so how do you feel about you putting yourself out there? And then is there any are you somewhat intimidated by other artists that are also starting out and thriving in the field within the same city or same state or whatever it is? What do you think about
Raheem,
that?
I think that's just a great question. I really do, because it's not just simple. Because truly, I will say that I don't feel any competition. I never have, only because I don't think that it's one. Like, we're not fighting for my dream. I don't have 5 people fighting for my dream. It's me going to achieve the goals and the dreams and the plans that I have. I don't feel like it's going to come down to a tape, even if I lose, say, whatever. It's just me living my life. Like I said, one thing that I've only ever said is that I will win a Grammy Award. But winning and losing has never been part of my vocabulary, because I was never an athlete. I was never, winning and losing was never, it's why I wasn't a good athlete, because losing didn't mean a lot to me. You know what I mean? You have to want to win. But when you talk about the state of it is, I think talent will rise to the top, and I don't mean to say too much, but I can sing you a song right now without any auto-tune. I can sing you a song without a guitar. You know, as a matter of fact, when I was singing one time, I went to the piano player and I said to the piano player, man, I wish I could do what you do. And she said to me, John, the only reason why I do what I do is because I can't do what you do. And so when I heard that, I said, wow, I think my voice is an instrument. So with that thought, I thought, well, a guitar player doesn't need a singer to play the guitar, and a piano player doesn't need a singer to play the piano. So if my voice is an instrument, then I shouldn't need a guitar or a piano player to use my instrument. So typically, there's always one song in every performance that I do that I like to do a cappella, to see that if my voice alone can affect your heart, your ears, your feelings, or whatever, and it tends to work.
I really like that point. What do you say to all of the people who look down on artists and people who want to reject the traditional 9-to-5 path and go in their own lane and do something for themselves?
I would say it's not going to get any easier ever for you, those people that do it, because this is what I'm learning in my life, is people don't like me living my life the way that I am. Like I just had somebody tell me that I needed to get in touch with reality.
What's that? That's
And
crazy.
exactly what I said, it's like, if you want me to get in touch with your reality, it's never going to happen because I don't like your reality. You know, so like for me, there's a couple of things that I would offer is, number one, I don't want anything. I say, I don't want a mansion. I want a window and I want a view. I don't need what's behind me. I want what's in front of me.
I like that.
You know what I mean? I don't want to buy sofas for a room that I'm looking at because I'm going to spend all my time looking out the window.
Yeah.
You know? So the material wealth is something that is good, that I can chase my dream because I don't have to worry about paying everything. You know, if I lose my apartment, I don't have to worry too much because it's the only thing I'm paying for. So if I don't have an apartment, I say, we've all got a thing. And what is dangerous, I think, for young people today, in my opinion, is falling in love. Because when you fall in love, you get lost in this romance thing where you start to play your house and plan your nest and whatever.
Okay.
So say, for example, you meet whatever, and we're living in Beacon Hill, and we're together in this small little place. So we decide that, you know, if we could move to Back Bay and get more for a little bit less, but now we're maxing out our money that we're killing our dreams now because now we're so worried about paying. Nothing will kill a dream more than paying rent.
So that's something I would push back on because I really believe in love. I think love is so important.
Oh, I believe in love.
But falling in love as well as a young person, I think not enough young people are falling in love.
But let me ask you this. You, with all of your thoughts, all of your potential, all of the way that you've reached out to me, you're dynamic. Now you meet someone else who's dynamic and you are lost in this love. Like I said, you're dynamic, but you have a baby called a loving relationship.
Yes.
But it's an infant that is now running the two dynamic people.
Potentially, but I see it, so with my current relationship, I feel like there's so much love and we've been through so many ups and downs that we're literally just living our own lives, but also sharing the love. We're not letting that take from any aspect of either of our lives.
And I would believe that. But I would say, in many cases, I'll give you the example where like the line that I like to use is keep your 20s to yourself. Because it's going to be the only decade that you're allowed to be selfish on any level. After age 30, if you're being selfish, you kind of look like ignorant fuck at this point.
I think there are a lot of selfish older people too.
There are, but don't they look like stupid fucks?
They do potentially, but they also have lots of power.
Well, I don't care. Who? It's like when people say, I like confidence. Well, what if he's stupid? Do you like a confident, stupid person?
I get that too, but in a material sense, people who have power make decisions which can affect our lives.
Absolutely. I was fired by an idiot.
So we have to be cognizant of what's going on with them so we can react to their moves. Like if tomorrow, if they make a law that says we're not allowed to leave the house, as they did a few years ago, we don't want to be chained to whatever it is the people in power can do.
Right.
How did you react to that during the pandemic? Obviously, the lockdowns,
I was surprised I got along with myself as well as I did, to be honest with you. I thought I'd get on my own nerves.
Did you feel...
Let me just ask you one question, though, before we move on, because there was a young man that came into me. I was working the bar, and he was 25 years old. And he came up to me like a kid who just won the lottery. Because he says, Johnny, you are not going to believe what just happened to me. And I said, what's that? I just got offered the job that I have wanted my whole life. And I said, congratulations. He said, well, there's just one downside to it. And I said, what's that? He says, I got to move to California.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what's the downside about that? He says, well, I have to talk to my girlfriend and see what she wants to do. And I said, what? You just got the job that you have dreamt of your whole life. You've been given everything that you've wanted. And now you're going to go discuss it with your girlfriend as to whether or not, what? I don't know. So maybe, but at 25, I don't doubt that the love is real. I don't doubt that the learning is real because you're learning about love, what's right and wrong. But I wouldn't give up on myself too quickly at age 25 because what happens, let me give you one example.
Well, I'm not 25, also I'm even younger, 21.
Yeah,
So-
because again, you
okay.
may be just needing love and you're sacrificing all of you to be in love.
Here's what I would say to that. I would say that there are many different kinds of love. And I've studied love. I read Bell Hooks all about love. So I'm very interested because we don't have a real definition in our society, an explicit definition for what is love.
Right.
We use it to apply to so many different
Not many
things.
know.
But there is a sort of love that you can get when you have one person and they trust you so much and you trust them and you've been through everything together and you love them so much. I would take that any day over living alone, just for me and myself, because I know that a good woman is the foundation for everything else in my life. Like if I have a good woman in my life who's really great and loving, and I think that's incredibly rare to find something like that. So I sort of won the actual lottery in terms of finding a partner. But once you get to that state where the love is so mutual, it's like nothing matters. Like we gotta go to California, we'll go to California. We gotta do this. We're like outside of our ego living the life. And it's not even about that. It's like we could be apart for as much time, like years, but we'll still be back together and still always be together throughout.
Well, I am absolutely thrilled that you feel that way and you have it mutual because it's the best kind of love is mutual.
It
There's
is,
no doubt
and I
about it.
think it's a rare thing, but also we're too quick in society today to jump off of love when it doesn't go our way initially.
That's
It's like
my point right there.
love
is
doesn't
that
happen overnight.
If you love me and I've lost my job and can't bring money anymore, you're comfortable sleeping under the tree, right? You're not going to yell at me for losing my job because we now lost everything. You're going to sleep under the tree.
Well, I definitely don't see myself in a romantic situation. with
No,
you.
but I'm just being general now. Because what
Yes.
happens is because I did not perform the way that I did, I guess the love disappeared because I
Yeah.
was thrown away.
Yes.
So when I did not perform, like what I would tell you now is that I am done with performative based love.
I get that.
I
big.
love
Bell Hooks
you.
talks about it.
I love you.
Yes.
So I want you in my day. I want you in my life. I want you in my house. I don't need you to be perfect. I don't need you to do everything I want you to do because there's something about you that I love. But when some people found out that there wasn't something they didn't like about me, which was me having my own opinion,
Yeah.
they threw me away.
That's a big
After
one.
years of telling me they loved me.
You need to allow.
So
your
when
partner
you
to
could
have their own
believe that it
opinion.
is all this, you don't want to lose your individuality so that when that person's gone,
Yes.
that's not the foundation. So
So-
you want to be 100%, she wants to be 100%, so you got 200.
So you
not
can never
50-50.
give up your individuality.
Never.
This is a mistake that we repeat constantly
Exactly
throughout
right.
society. So actual scientists and biological studies have looked at the brain through methods such as CAT scans or whatever the current methods are, and they've come to the conclusion that when an individual or animal goes into a new tribal setting, so a new group, think about it, a new school, a new job, a new this, a new that. When they go into this group and they have this, they're very living in their ego and have this big attachment to their ego, their mind over time begins to rewire itself in order to have the same opinions as that group so that they fit into the group. That's why you get these mob mentalities. That's why you get these thought bubbles, these echo chambers all around society and academia and whatever it is, archaeology, science, religion, or all these different aspects where there's sort of just like everyone is agreeing. It's just a primitive biological reaction. So that's how it works when you examine the brain. I love this point, and I haven't heard many people preach this point that you just brought up. You can't give up your individuality. So real love is being able to respect that person enough to give them their individuality. That's what it's about. And
If I'm a musician and they want me home at 5 p.m. for dinner every night, that's not going to work. Because again, they've
you
got a
have to
perception of
compromise and work something out and like explain. That's the big one with the relationship, is just explaining things to them. So many times we retreat into our own heads when we're getting into fights or arguments with our significant other, and we don't want to tell them exactly what's going on because we think that magically they should know. So it's like we have to be constantly telling our partner everything, give them the raw data. That way you can actually be yourself around them if they know all your deepest secrets and whatever. That's also what I'm doing with this, documenting every aspect of my mind so that I don't feel like I'm ever hiding something from anyone in any situation. That's another big foundation for how I live the rest of my life. When I have nothing to hide, I have no secrets. You know, it's like I'm an open book.
Well, but careful though, because I remember I was an open book with my wife. But if you want to go read the black and white book about it, it's up at the courthouse in Maine. So
What happened? Tell me about that.
Well, I'm just saying
Like
that
legally
when I told her about things that happened to me as a young person,
Yes.
or things that were in my heart, to bring them up as weapons in a divorce later.
Yeah.
So when I told my sister about that, I said, well, I thought marriage was full disclosure. I mean, that's what I thought it was. My sister, who was married for 35 years, said, John, what makes you think that? I mean, I love Bill, and I've been married to him for 35 years, but he doesn't know 100% about me.
Well, you have to, and that's why I would actually discourage.
So you have to be able to know as an individual that you're allowed to have
anything,
something to yourself,
and
you don't have to share it.
I don't know about that because I think you'll never be fully comfortable.
But what happens though when, like I would say, when my brother was diagnosed HIV positive, back in the 80s, his doctor told him, Michael, don't share this with anyone who will not support you.
Yeah.
So by thinking that you want to be full disclosure and honesty, you're giving a bullet to someone who's not going to use it today. They're going to put it in their belt.
You're making
to
yourself
shoot you
vulnerable.
later.
You make yourself vulnerable. That's what most people can't do. But if you're not going to be vulnerable,
It's not
with your
being vulnerable, because I'm vulnerable. I can tell you everything, but I better make sure that you're going to care about me first.
Yes, of course.
I'm not going to be vulnerable in front of an idiot.
Of course not. The thing is, why would you ever be with an idiot as your significant other?
Because you don't even know it until you're late.
You have to trust at least one person.
I'm going to sing
in
you
your
a
life.
song, and I think we're going to have to wrap this up pretty quickly, because I think it sums up. Many people for generations and generations, they talk about, boy, if I only knew then what I know now. So I wrote a song, and when I sing this song, you can see it, because the thing that I like about my songwriting, I'm educated, I'm eloquent, I believe in vocabulary, I have feelings, and I take the time to learn how to express them, which a lot of men don't. So what I want to do is, if I can sometimes educate men or speak up on their behalf, as that, I would go like this, because I watch it in their faces. So it'll go something like this. I won't sing the whole song, but it goes up. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. Yeah. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. And then there's a line, but I'm going to go with this. The day she threw me out, I couldn't believe my wife. But little did I know it'd be the best day of my life. Because you don't know what you don't know until you know it. But when she went away and I knew our time was through, imagine my pain when she took my children too. Because you don't know what you don't know until you know it. But Solomon, he was wise. He knew just what to do. Let the children live, and they'll come home to you. And when that moment comes, and my time on earth is done, I'll thank God for my faith in his one and only Son. Because you don't know, but you don't be a fool to think you know it all. Because you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Okay.
You know? So like when I sing that first verse, people always go, oh, this is gonna be a funny song.
Yeah.
It turned out to be the best day. But when I go, I didn't know that she was gonna take my children and tell them that I threw whatever.
So can I ask you about that relationship? Give me a timeline. When did you become, because you obviously became vulnerable to her to feel this way at some point.
Absolutely.
So when was that in the timeline?
Immediately. I never thought, immediately, because I never thought anyone that beautiful would ever fall in love with me.
So this is a mistake that I've made in the past and that many people in life make. You don't become vulnerable immediately to someone, because how could you ever
No, I
know?
didn't become vulnerable. I was vulnerable.
Yes, but that's the same mistake.
No. When you don't think that someone's going to love you, I entered into the relationship thinking that no one would ever find me lovable.
Yeah, that's how it is for everyone.
Right? Okay, but I didn't become vulnerable. I just was.
Yeah, exactly.
So she seized upon that. So for example,
but that's not her fault. That's just
it's
what
not
happened.
her fault.
But don't jump into something immediately, because that's infatuation. That's not love. You have to give something a long time to breathe. And I used to think that love was that immediate thing. Real love comes after years of knowing
But didn't you
someone.
just say that you were like a full disclosure kind of guy?
Yes.
So does your girlfriend not know everything about you right now?
I mean, eventually, yeah, now she knows everything.
And
but
how long have
that
you been
took
together?
years. That took 2 years to get to that point.
Well, 2 years is not years. But I get what you're saying. To be vulnerable. I'm just saying that I didn't know I was vulnerable.
Yes.
But when she's looking for someone to mold, to fit into her way, I didn't know, because she was disguising it as love.
You can't blame her, because people will do what they do.
I'm not blaming her.
Yes.
I'm just saying that her issues, and like I always say, I came from a dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
She came from a dysfunctional family. But we both wanted to be a functional family. Mm-hmm. So it was all pretend until we couldn't pretend any longer.
But you don't think there was any point along that time when you could have zoomed out and said, this isn't something real? And also, was that your first real time being in love with a woman?
Yes.
So I think that's the mistake there. It's like, if you don't fail quickly, you're gonna lose. You have to fail quickly.
Well, I didn't fail. Well, again, I didn't even get involved until I was 23.
But you got married to her, and it was the first
23.
woman you ever loved.
Not the first woman I'd ever loved, but first one I've ever had a relationship with, certainly.
I think
that was
it,
a loving relationship.
I think it does boil down, and I respect your situation. I'm not trying to cast some judgment, but I'm saying, looking back at my own life, like my opinion on love has shifted dramatically through life.
Right.
And I'm like, the relationships, when I look back, when I fell in love or infatuated immediately, and like tried to get wrapped up into something, it's always, there was never a real connection there, and I discovered it later. Then the one time, it's like I give something a couple of years to breathe. I decided I'm not gonna jump into things anymore. I learned that real love takes time, and it will come eventually if you just give it
Well, for
that
me,
space.
I think where it was real with me was being vulnerable. I didn't think I was smart, but she told me I was smart, so I believed it.
Yeah, so
I didn't think
that's
I
an
was
unfortunate
sexy.
situation.
So when she called me sexy, I believed it.
Yes.
So now, no, what you think of me doesn't matter half as much as what I think of me. So like I would say, I'm not that good looking, but I'm sexy as hell.
Yeah, I think
And I'm the only one who needs to believe it.
you don't even need to say I'm not that good looking, because it's like,
I'm claiming my own thing. I'm not doing it for the purpose of anybody.
yeah, I know what you mean, and it's like, I totally
I'm not
respect
trying to
that.
diminish myself, because like I always say, right before we all come to Earth, and we're doing, the good Lord says, before you go, stop by the gift department, pick yourself up a couple of gifts to take with you down to Earth. It'll make life a little easier.
Yes.
When I got down to the gift department, the line for good looks was so long, I went for musical talent.
I get that.
Because everybody wants to be good looking. I don't need to be good looking.
I think a lot of people confuse love does not. Most of the time, people think that attraction is love.
Exactly.
In reality,
It's
it
something-
isn't.
Yeah.
I think love is a lot more than just attraction.
Absolutely.
Because if you think about it, when two couples are way past their youth, I mean, you know, as you're growing older, that attraction is starting to go away. I mean, you're
It just
aging.
grows as well, though, at the same time.
Well, it may have stopped growing, so the stagnancy of it alone is
Well, that's because one party stopped putting in the effort to keep loving, because love is an action. It's a verb as well as it is a noun.
Absolutely.
You have to be actively loving, every day, loving yourself, and especially your significant other, or just the people.
But what
you
happens though
interact
when
with.
you are raised? You weren't even allowed to have that.
You can't blame your past or anything that happened.
No, you don't blame it, but you have to. Like, I'll tell you an example. I was going to a shrink, and I was talking about this one situation, and my shrink says to me, "So John, during this whole time when it's all going on, who was looking out for you?" And I turned my head and I started to cry. And when I turned my head back, I said, I don't have problems crying. I don't have problems with tears. I just don't know those tears.
Yeah.
And it was because no one ever once asked me how I was.
But who did you? It's like it doesn't matter. No,
It does matter
never
when you're a
matters how-
child.
Sure, and it could imprint something on you, but you're still responsible to rewire your brain.
Believe me, I'm not holding anyone
afterwards.
to blame. I'm just accepting the fact that it was real.
Yes.
So, like, for example, my relationships with pastors would say, I don't mind arguing with you as long as I know it's your argument.
Yes.
But you seem to be representing your parents' argument.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know if it's yours. So when I believed it, I thought, wow, I'm fighting about unions I don't really know about because I've never been a part of one. But what I learned at the end of it was that she was not teaching me how to think for myself. She was
For her.
teaching me to think like her.
So obviously it was a negative.
And I'm not
dichotomy.
blaming anybody. I'm just being aware of it.
Yes.
So I can alter.
And in the future, I don't think you should shut it off and say there's no way you could find love again, because I think anyone can.
Oh, believe me, I love more people. I don't know anybody who loves more than I do.
What about a significant other?
I will tell you, have you ever heard this line before? And it says this, it says, everybody talks about love. There is one type of love that doesn't like to share.
That doesn't like to share. What's that?
I had lots of girlfriends before I got married. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends after I got married. You know what I mean? It's like, I could be with you, but you're going out with them now. I don't really like sharing that kind of love. You're like, if we're all going out like friends and the love is real, we can share that love. Oh, but wait a minute, who are you just talking to? Because I love you and you love me, right? Who are you talking to over there? Because I don't like sharing you, even if you don't know it. So it's that thing that can be damaging in love, because people don't like to share that possessiveness, that monogamy, that, like, again, I don't believe that men have midlife crises. It's the women that have the midlife crises.
So what I would say to push back is, I think monogamy is a sacred bond, which a lot of people don't understand it exactly in our society. I think that monogamy is something that if you put in the time and effort and both parties are consistent, we just biologically are monogamous a lot of the time. And it's like, obviously,
I don't think we're biologically monogamous.
okay, not biologically,
Right.
but tribalistically, sure.
Right.
But as men, so it's different for men and women, obviously. But what I can say from my own experience is that over time I learned, if you want to have the perfect girl, if you want to have the perfect woman, the one that we say in our minds is the perfect one, how can we do
Does
that?
anybody think that exists?
I do, because I found it, and I'm going to tell you guys how you can find it too. So if you want...
I'm not looking for one, so I don't know if I need to
I think
hear.
we all are at all times. So I'm saying, if you have this idea of the perfect woman, right, that you want to be your girl, you have to be the boyfriend or the husband that she would have. So think about this ideal you have, and think about, like, and I'm talking not radically shift yourself, but all positive things. So you have to think, like, what would she want? She would at least want you to care enough to be monogamous. Like, if
I
you-
would think that she should first care whether or not you opened the door for her.
What about you? Because you're not gonna let your girls sleep with a bunch of
No,
other
I'm just
guys.
talking about it doesn't even get to the point of monogamy at that point. For me, like I said, I believe in monogamy, but not because it's right, because it's because of trust.
Yes, trust.
It's not because I think that you shouldn't have sex with other people.
Yeah.
It's that I need to trust you.
Yes.
So once you lied to me about it, now I can't trust. Because when you just cheated on me, I'm still gonna love you tomorrow, and that's what sucks.
Why does
But
that
I'm
suck?
never-
You just
because-
get over it. Why
Well,
not?
Good for you. I'll watch you get over things quickly.
Yeah, like
If it doesn't happen. Like if someone that you love died, your heart would hurt, right?
it would hurt.
You just get over it?
It would hurt for a second, but I always get over it. It's like it maybe hurts if I choose to latch on to my primitive animal mind. If I'm rejecting that animalistic intention and ego, and I zoom out, it's like they wouldn't want me to care. They're not like, my friends died, a couple of them recently, and I'm thinking, like, they're not looking down at me saying, Ben, I want you to spend your time sad about
No, I
it.
agree with you on that.
I'm thinking they're more like, no, like, you should keep chasing your path and still love us, and there will be time to worry about things after we're gone.
Right.
Like, who knows? But right now, I'm not gonna worry about anything that
Right.
happens in life. I'm just gonna go for it.
No, I believe me, I applaud that. I applaud that. I applaud
Thank
you.
you.
I applaud you. I
Thank
applaud
you. And I applaud you too.
because
John.
I'll tell you honestly, we're all gonna learn what we learn when we learn it.
Exactly.
The key
I
I would
still have
just-
much to learn.
The key offering is again, I like all of it. I love you three, truly. You're
I
all
think-
really good men.
I think those who have a harder time moving on. I've had a lot of friends who had a harder time moving on from breakups,
Right.
and we've seen them a lot often.
Right.
Yes.
I think soon enough, when Elon Musk comes out with the chip, I think they'll be able to move on a lot faster.
Yeah, of course.
No, well, I'll tell you something. This is what I always think is that
Exactly.
there was a young girl. There was 4 people at the bar one time, and they were talking about. I was talking about something, and they kept looking at the girl with everything that I had said, and she had said, "I just broke up with my boyfriend," and she started to cry in front of me.
Okay.
So wait a minute. So I said to her, "Let me tell you something. If you're crying, it's because you invested into that relationship.
Yes.
If he is not crying, he didn't invest half as much, because he's going away unaffected."
Okay, 100%. And I want to just to end it off on a positive note, let me
Right
just
on.
ask you about the project, this festival. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but you're about to be performing,
Yeah.
and it's a big deal, I think. What's the name of the festival?
Cabaret Fest, celebrating 25 years.
Cabaret Fest.
It's in Provincetown. I've never been to Provincetown before.
When
so
is it?
it's
It's
exciting.
happening.
It is on June 4th, Wednesday night. Now, it's a whole week-long event. It goes from June 2nd
Okay.
to June 8th.
When will you be
I will be
performing?
there on June 4th at a place called the Gifford House.
Very nice.
And
What songs will you be performing?
I'm going to sing a
Yours.
song called My Funny Valentine. And I love it so much. As I perform right now, I sing. It's the only song I sing twice in a show, because I sing it first and I sing it last because I love it that much. Second song I'm not going to say just because it's Cabaret is interesting. Cabaret isn't just singing a song; it's telling a story, singing a song, and then once you've shown them that you can sing, then you can be a little bawdy, be a
Nice.
little dirty, be a little whatever you got to do at that point, But I'm quite excited. But what I mean more than anything, it's my dreams are coming true. I am
Yeah.
following through on my purpose.
I like that.
And you guys, like, I started my career at 50, and I thought I was really good at 50.
Mm-hmm.
But 12 years later, I realized I sucked when I was 50.
Of course.
So, with you guys doing what you're doing right now at your young age, in about 10 or 12 years, you're going to know so much that you're going to
We
glad
will.
you started doing
We
this
will.
now.
We will. We
And then
will.
I will tell you this.
Knock on wood.
As a man of faith, 62 years in, your blessings, that the good Lord brought my way. I do know that.
Just one last
100%.
question
Of
before
course,
you go. What would you say to someone out there who is chasing dreams but thinks it's way too late? As someone who started at 50 their music career, what would you say to that person watching?
Well, I would say if you look at statistics, just go to Google and say, who didn't start until after they were 50? And you're going to find the amazing amount of people that didn't do anything prior to 50. And then I would say that where I did do it well was, I'm not in a hurry for anything. I want a full life. And so what I did say when people say is, I said, when I was younger, I knew that I was going to need the first 50 years to do the second 50 years. So what I like to say is, Daddy didn't have notes when he was 22. So I had to wait to get these notes. I had to wait to get the perspective.
Right.
I had to wait to work in Boston for 28 years to have the following without even starting music. So I'm already in Boston, which is bigger than all the other cities, and I've got a great following because I worked. So I made the thing. So I only, like I said, not only about working in the bar, it taught me how to control a crowd, how to control hecklers, how to control all kinds of things.
All right, you guys heard it here first. Ladies and gentlemen, I think 10, this has been a wonderful conversation filled with some debate, some joy, some learning, some art. It has been amazing.
I hope I get another
Thanks to
opportunity
John.
hang with
Thanks
you
to
guys.
John for coming in today. Honestly, it was
Thank
great
you,
knowing
thank you,
you,
thank
man.
you.
And I think you're gonna do great with your career. And I think it's never too late to start
Never.
anything. I think that's the pretty much is the.
Do you know what's amazing?
The-
I started at 50, and at 70, I'll be celebrating 20 years in the business.
All right, John Everett Martin,
Peace.
guys, this has been I Think. Thank you so much.
Oh.